Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Software Explorations, Concepts and Overviews. I am your host, Tech Coach Ralph, where, above everything else, we are engineered to win. In today's episode of Software Explorations, we are going to be looking into CI/CD pipelines, continuous integration, and continuous deployment. What exactly is this continuous thing? We're going to find out. We're going to jump in. But before we do that, if you haven't done so already, do me a big favor. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every time that we go live, and go over to www.techcoachralph.dev. Join the Patreon so that you can level up, get some amazing exclusive content, as well as sign up for one-on-one coaching where we can run it up together. All right. You don't have to do it on your own. I am right there with you so that we can win together. I want to be in your corner to help you succeed. But with that being said, let's jump into CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment pipelines. All right, let's go. Our presentation for today, CI/CD pipelines, streamlining software development. And, there we have a picture of some pipelines, but not exactly the pipelines we're talking about here. These are more like oil pipelines or maybe water pipelines, whatever the case may be. But we're going to be talking about software development pipelines. So what is our agenda for today? We're going to have an introduction to CI/CD, talk about the definition and things like that. What are the benefits of using CI/CD, the key components of CI/CD, some tools that we use for CI/CD, and the pipeline and the workflow. What are the best practices? And we're going to have a little demo and example. And then, we wrap it up with our conclusion, our Q&A, and we go from there. So without further ado, let's run it up. Let's get into it. So what exactly is CI/CD? So definition of continuous integration, pretty much it is frequent merging of code changes to a centralized repository. We're going to talk about repositories in a little bit, but always merging in new code, right? And then we're running automated tests to detect whatever possible issues early and often. We don't spend weeks writing a bunch of code and then we put it together and then we see, oh, we have 100 different problems. No, we don't do that with continuous integration, right? So we're going to be writing our code, merging it on a regular basis, running our tests to find out if everything is on the up and up, right? But what about continuous deployment? What is continuous deployment? What is the CD part of it, right? So that part is the automated deployment of code changes to production. So it's not a manual process having to log into a server and throw in some code here and throw in some code there. And then we cross our fingers and hoping for the best. No, we automate the whole process that we can just say, all right, we're ready to go, merge, and then boom, your code is live in production for the win. And it ensures that the software is always in a deployable state, always ready to go. You should always be able to deploy master without any worries. And through that, we have a bunch. It's like the continuous integration and the continuous deployment, they work hand in hand. If all the integration goes well, then we should be able to deploy without any issues. All right. So that's why the software is always in a deployable state. I remember one of the chief architects that I work with, his thing was we should always be able to deploy from master at any given, and not master, but from he wanted to be able to deploy from the development branch at any given moment in time. So whenever you would merge, we were using the development branch. Some companies will use the master branch. But whatever was in deployment, like we shouldn't have to wait every 2 weeks to deploy. We wanted to be able to just say, all right, we merge this code in to deploy to development, merge or deploy, right? So what are the benefits of the continuous integration, continuous deployment, right? So faster release cycles. I can't stress how important it is to get to market early and often. So with the whole automated of testing and automated deployment, whenever we push our code up, we should have a series of tests that are running. Unit tests, API tests, integration tests, UI tests, all automated. And those run through whatever system they're running in. And once all of those pass, and your deployment pipeline says, okay, all these are passed, now let's go and deploy. So wherever we're supposed to be deploying it to, that's the key. That's the goal, right? It also has improved code quality. Why is it the code quality improved? Because if you are properly writing your unit tests, your automated tests all these, like you're looking into all the nooks and crannies, right? And if everything goes well, that means your code is going to be better because you have testing in place. You have great regression tests in place. Because if one of your older unit tests fails, once you push the code up, that means Houston, we have a problem. We have to go back and check that. All right. So early detection of bugs. The same way with the code quality being improved, when we run all of our automated tests, whether it's a API test, a UI test, a unit test, when something fails, it's going to fail the integration, which means it won't get to the deployment. And now we have to go back and figure out what's wrong and fix that, push it again, everything should pass. Enhance collaboration amongst team members. So with the CI/CD pipeline, we have the team members who are writing the code. We have code review, pushing it up, writing our unit test, writing our automated test. So we all work together so that we can have a automated flow, and continuous, right? We don't want any manual things that are causing us to stop and slow down, which manual also causes the more defects and more bugs because repetition is key. And as I was just mentioning, reduce manual intervention. We don't want to always put our thumbs on the scale and having to stop the whole automated flow. It's inefficient, very, very inefficient. So many people, they just, manual, but it's inefficient. Do more with less. So what are the key components of the CI/CD pipeline? So pretty much the biggest component of it is going to be version control. Git, SVN, whatever, right? As the source code repository, so big because you need to be able to branch your code, make your whatever changes that you're going to do, merge it in, and now it merges cleanly, and then it runs a series of tests. And that being able to branch and to have feature branches, have defect branches, whatever branch that it is, but keeping the master code, the main code, separate from the branches that are in development, so that you can do your tests, your pull requests, all of that on that branch. And then when you merge it in, all those tests run with the merge code, and those have to pass as well. Or it's going to say, you know what, we can't deploy. Houston, we have a problem. All right. Next up, the build server. Very, very important. Because now once you can merge in your code, once you have your pull request, whatever, you want to be able to run building the application, running the test, because here's what's going to happen, right? When you push your code up, then a series of tests are going to run. And once those tests pass, then it's okay, cool. Now we can build. And so after it merges into the main branch, now it's going to build the code. And once the code is built, now it's going to say, okay, where do we deploy it to? Right? So that build server is super, super important. I've used Jenkins for years now. I haven't used Circle CI yet, but I'm interested in getting familiar with it, right? Also use TeamCity. Pretty familiar with TeamCity. But all of those tools, those are build tools. So they can run your tests. They can actually build the application. They're so powerful. Like super important. And you know what? We're gonna do some deep dives into Jenkins, Circle CI, TeamCity, because those are the essential tools, the key components of CI/CD. And if you don't know those, then you're gonna have a problem getting into this field. Whether you're a software engineer, QA engineer, whatever the case may be, cloud engineer, very, very important to get familiar with these tools. So some more key components, right? Automated testing. That is my bread and butter right there. I love automated testing. Unit testing, integration testing, and functional testing. The CI/CD pipeline should be able to, it can handle all of those. When the code is pushed up, it runs a series of unit tests against the code. Then the integration, whether it's API test, UI test, any type of test, it should be able to be ran in the CI/CD pipeline. And then deployment automation. Tools for deploying to various environments. Kubernetes, Docker. I love Docker. Like, you've seen me use Docker so much on this channel. It's a lifesaver. And very soon, I should be able to dive into Kubernetes as well. We're going to do some big things on this channel. You definitely want to tune in. You want to subscribe to this channel because we're going to get into Kubernetes. We're going to dive deeper into Docker. All the different CI/CD tools, installing those, setting them up, very, very essential to your growth in this arena. So, what are some CI/CD tools? So, version control tool systems, right? Git, SVN, Mercurial. I'm not too familiar with that one. Mercurial. Okay, I'm not familiar with that one yet. But Git, I'm like that. I use that every single day. I say that is like one of the number one tools. One of the number one. It's not even one of the number one tools that you need to learn, because being able, like, every single company that you go to, they're going to be using Git. That's what's it. Knowing how to create a new branch, how to check out code, how to clone a repository, how to merge code in, how to push code up to one of the repositories, right? Super, super important. Now, the build automation tools, Jenkins, Travis CI, Circle CI, GitLab CI, TeamCity. All those tools are super, super important. Like I said, I've used Jenkins for a very long time. I haven't used Travis CI, I haven't used Circle, I haven't used GitLab. So I want to get into all of those on this channel. And we're going to spread it out because we have nothing but time. But these tools are essential, especially Jenkins. Jenkins is probably the most popular tool for build automation, for CI/CD. Very important. Some more CI/CD tools. So testing frameworks. You've seen us talk about JUnit, Selenium. I'm going to throw in there TestNG because that works great with Selenium when you're doing Java. PyTest for Python. We've seen us talk about that. We can even throw in there what the BDD test, like Behave, Cucumber. If you're using JavaScript, there's going to be Playwright, Cypress. All those tools, all those testing frameworks, they work perfectly inside the CI/CD framework. Those are some CI/CD tools, right? Now, the deployment tools, Docker, Kubernetes, Ansible. We're going to, like, once we get into our DevOps on Sundays, we're going to be looking into Packer. We're already looking at the Terraform. That's another type of deployment tool, setting up your infrastructure. Infrastructure as code. Like, all these things, they go hand in hand with CI/CD. They make up the CI/CD pipeline. Without them, you have no CI/CD. All right? Next up. So, how does the CI/CD pipeline workflow work? So, simply, you're going to commit your code. Your developer is going to commit code, or QA engineer. They're going, or infrastructure, right? Because you can commit your Terraform code to, like, into like GitHub, for instance, or whatever Git software you use, maybe Bitbucket, whatever. And then that should be able to, so once you do the merge, that should be able to trigger all the infrastructures to being built once it's approved and accepted on the merge. So the developer is going to commit the code to the repository. Next up is going to be the build. Automated build is triggered, where it's going to, build it on whatever environment that is, or branch, or whatever it's supposed to be on, right? Next up, all the automated tests are going to be ran. And if all the tests pass, then it's going to deploy it to staging or production or whatever the next environment is. Right? If they don't pass, then it's not going to deploy, and you have to go back and figure out what's wrong and fix that. And after deployment, then you have to monitor. And you're monitoring through your logging application. Maybe that's a Sumo Logic. Maybe that's a Grafana. Maybe that's a what's the name of that other one? Splunk. But you have to monitor the logs of the application. Make sure there's no errors. Make sure it actually starts up. Make sure there's interaction that's going in back and forth. Checking for errors. Very, very important. You have to monitor afterwards. So let's get into some best practices for the CI/CD pipeline. So, number one, the most important part, because if you don't commit the code, there's nothing to integrate. There's nothing to deploy, right? So commit your code frequently. Write as less code as possible, but that makes the application work. Remember our test-driven development practices? write a failing test, make it pass, refactor, clean code, commit your code early and often. And even before you commit the code, you can run your unit tests locally so you can see that your tests are passing. Automate as much as possible. It's very hard to automate 100%. But some people say, you know what, you can't automate everything. What's a good percentage to automate? So let's talk about it. What's a good percentage to automate? Some people will say, I think 50% is good. Well, I think that you have 50% risk of the rest of the application not working. You have a risk of 50% of the application not working. What about 60%? Well, you have 40% risk. 70, you have 30% risk. 80, you have 20% risk. 90, you have a 10% risk. 100, you have no risk. So, but it is so hard to get to 100. But I say you should always strive for 100. And if you get to 90, if you can get to 90, I'm pretty confident the application is going to be good. But you can get to 91, 92, 93, maybe 95, maybe 99, whatever the case may be. And through automating, it's not only like through like some UI tests or some API tests. You have to say, all right, the unit tests cover this much amount. The integration tests cover this much amount. The UI tests cover this much amount. At as close to 100 as we can be, that's the more confident we should be. All right? Maintain a fast and reliable test suite. So you need to have, and that's why I say you should have a majority of your tests are going to be unit tests, because they should run very, very quickly. Like unit tests that I have at work, they run in like maybe 3 minutes. But it's very important to have because the unit test shouldn't be reaching out to to real data. You should be mocking your data. You should be putting fixtures and stuff in place. That your unit tests, the tests that are going to be the most, they should be the fastest to run. Now, when you move out to like API tests, depending on how you're running those, they might take a little bit longer, but they shouldn't take that much longer. And they're going to have less API tests than you have unit tests. But you want your API tests to run really, really fast. Now, the further away you get from the code, the longer it takes the test to run. So now if we're looking into UI tests, those take a little bit longer, a little bit flakier. But that's why I say you should not have a big amount, a large amount of UI tests, of automated UI tests, because they can be flaky. So you don't want your UI tests to be focusing on business logic. It should like go around and can we click around here, get here, but it shouldn't be like the bulk of your test. Right? Next up, use feature toggles for incomplete features. Well, we might be building a feature and we push a little bit of the code, a little bit of the code. It's not the full code, but as we continuously push code, we can have them hidden behind feature toggles because the code isn't ready yet. So as we continuously build out the code and we're making our code commits frequently, and the code, the integration is happening, the deployment is happening, that code that's not done yet, the feature that's not done yet, it's not putting us at risk because it's hidden behind a feature toggle. And that, I'm going to add that to the list too. Let's look into how do we do feature toggles, because there are some tools out there that handle feature toggles where you can just, into your configuration, you say yes, 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 no, no, no. And the ones that are yes are going to show up. The ones that are no, they're not going to show up. And I think that would be absolutely amazing for us to do. And then lastly, continuously monitor and improve the pipeline. What do I say? Make it work, make it better. Make it work, make it better. That's my strategy of life. Make something work, and then we make it better. And you're always doing that over and over, looking at your logs, and then making enhancements so that we can be optimal in everything that we do. All right. So here's an example of a CI/CD pipeline. So let's say we have the open source, right, where you download, you run, you incorporate into your builds. So that open source could be like some Python packages, could be some Java packages, whatever the case may be, right? And then the Git step of it is going to access the code, commit new code to the repository, right? Write the code, test and develop, right? Next up, in the CI/CD tools, select access and manage DevOps tools to build apps. That could be you're using Docker, you can use Ansible, whatever the case may be, to build an app. Next up, commit our artifacts to repository. So now we push our code to the repo. Okay. And once we do that, we write and we run automated scripts to test, provision, etc. Manage the containers, platforms, and environments. So hybrid, deploy and manage workloads and servers, hybrid containers, virtual machines. Those are like where the application is going to be running, where our tests are going to be running. For instance, on the channel, like last year, one of my first videos, we installed Docker on AWS EC2 instance, and we installed the Selenium grid on there. When I first got started with Terraform, I used Terraform to set up the EC2 instance, log into the instance, and install Docker through a script, and then start up the Selenium grid. So like, and the CI/CD pipeline is just putting all those things together. So the native cloud, manage cloud resources, deploy cloud workloads, and then for databases, write and run programs which access databases. So like these different components make up that CI/CD pipeline. And throughout the whole process, you have to install and run the tools and web apps, access tool management console, like accessing, TeamCity, Jenkins, Circle CI, and then you need access to the internet. And this right here is a developer working on their computer who is setting all that stuff up. This is very DevOpsy. So when will we get to a demo of the CI/CD pipeline? It's going to be on a live stream on a Thursday night, Software Explorations. What we'll do is we'll use Docker to install Jenkins. And once we install Jenkins, we're going to set up a couple of pipelines in Jenkins. So we'll probably do, because right now, if you saw on the channel before, I have GitHub Actions that are executing our tests. We're going to try to locally set up our tests to run through Jenkins, and then we can do the same thing for TeamCity, Circle CI, Travis CI, whatever the case may be. We can see like how we can set up, how we get familiar, because I'm pretty familiar with Jenkins, pretty familiar with TeamCity, but the other ones haven't used it yet, so we can learn that together as well. We can explore those softwares together. All right, so that's the plan. In some coming weeks, we are going to have some software explorations where we're going to be setting up the CI/CD pipeline live, the software to use, all that good stuff. All right, so that's the plan for the demo, our live stream for CI/CD. All right, so let's wrap it up. In conclusion, we define what CI/CD is: continuous integration, continuous deployment, which in brief, it is to continuously push code for the CI/CD part, have the test run in an automated fashion to let us know that it's working. And then for the continuous deployment, merge the code in an automated fashion so that code is always being deployed, always being merged in. And we have the latest and greatest software all the time. We spoke about the benefits of CI/CD, how it helps us go a lot faster, how it's more reliable, how we can catch defects quicker, all that good stuff. We spoke about the key components of the CI/CD pipeline, went through each of them, gave some details on it. So we spoke about some CI/CD tools like Docker, like Jenkins, like automated testing, TestNG, Selenium, all that good stuff. We looked at the CI/CD pipeline workflow, all the steps that are involved in it. We talked about some best practices so that you can have a successful pipeline and that you can give some great recommendations when setting it up. We spoke about when we're going to be doing our demo and, with the example, with the live stream coming soon. So with that being said, do you have any questions about what we went over today? I would love to hear from you. Did I miss anything? I know it was kind of shorter than normal, but I'm trying to keep these a little bit more condensed because it is so much information. It's almost impossible to catch it all, right? But make sure if you have to do take notes, do take notes. But that is if you have any questions, please drop me a comment in the chat. And what we can do, if you have questions about this, we can answer those questions on our Tuesday night live streams where if you have questions, you give me a comment, I'll get those questions answered. You can actually call into the show live and you can ask me questions in the chat as well. So, whenever I have these presentations, if you have questions, write them down, come and join me on the live stream so we can talk about it together and we can hash it out. But that is what I wanted to share with you. So hopefully you found this very, very helpful and informative. And we are back. So that is our CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment pipelines presentation for today. This is how we, as software engineers, Q engineers, cloud engineers, cloud architects, solution architects, this is how we make our lives easier. And in turn, help the company make more money, which helps us make more money as well. Very, very important stuff. You can't be locked out of this. You can't be. You have to get more familiar with this stuff, right? But that means I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Do me a big favor: like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every time we go live, and go over to www.techcoachralph.dev. Join the Patreon. You can join for free, right? But if you're on a tier, you get access to super exclusive content to help you level up. I'm thinking about some amazing videos to make as well to help you guys grow in your journey in tech. And you can also sign up for one-on-one coaching where we can work together. We can run it up together. I want to be in your corner. I want to be your corner man. I want to be your corner man to help you grow and help you win. All right. That being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm going to get out of here. It's Tech Coach Ralph with another episode of Software Explorations, exploring CI/CD pipelines. But until next time, friends, family, everyone, all my tech savages, you guys have an amazing, amazing rest of your week. This is Tech Coach Ralph, and we are out.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.